Hey everyone, today we're going to take this simple dashboard app and we're going to upgrade it with some custom filters. I'm going to take you through my app building process and hopefully you learn some tricks along the way. So to start, what we almost definitely want to do is provide a way to filter these charts by some other date range. Right now, I think we have 90 days worth of data, and so these charts obviously are quite cramped. So we want our users in this app to be able to change how they view this data. So for example, let's do the past 7 days, the past 14 days, and the past 30 days. What we're going to do is we're going to bring in a single select widget, and we'll call this filter date range. You can see I've already made that. And let's put a text label to the left. I like to align these on the right side for ease. We'll call this filter date. And these options here, we're going to do past 7 days, past 14 days, and past 30 days. And what we need to do in order to utilize these options is calculate the values into a trigger that updates these two variables, the from timestamp and the to timestamp. And what we're going to do with those is filter our analytics. So these analytics are returning the all-time data for these 4 charts. We are going to filter them by, we'll do start timestamp. You could go either way, greater than or equal to the variable from timestamp. And we want that same start timestamp to be less than or equal to the variable to timestamp. And now inside of the editor, we're going to lose visibility because that variable doesn't have values inside of the editor. And a quick trick, instead of actually doing that same process, because you can't copy filters, the easiest way to probably bring those filters into new analysis widgets is just to delete them, copy the original one that has those filters, and now all we need to do, instead of creating all those filters, we can just switch to changing the analysis and the filters will carry over. So nice quick trick. And this will be the quantity outputted. And in this bottom right, we'll do the quantity scrapped. Cool. So we've got this filter date. And if we go into dev mode, we can select which filter date we want, but nothing's happening. So let's get this rolling. First off, let's set a default for that. So maybe when we first open the app, it will say past 14 days. And what we want to do as a part of that is when the app starts, we need to define those filter variables to configure the way that those charts look. So when the app is started, we're going to do these data manipulation stores where we're going to set the expression of app info.current date and time. We're going to set that to the to timestamp, so that'll be the up to range. And the from timestamp is the same idea, but we want to subtract from the current date and time. So how you do this in Tulip is you are subtracting in seconds. So what we want to do here is subtract 14 days times 24 hours times 60 minutes times 60 seconds. So real quick, another thing to be careful with in Tulip, if I hit save right now, this trigger did not save my expression updates. So you have to remember when you're working with Tulip expressions that you need to save the expression and then save the trigger. Tulip will actually let you save and think that you've changed things, but now I've actually changed things. So now by default, if I restart this app, I will see that we are functioning and we can view a much better way of looking at these charts. But if I switch to past 7 days, it's not doing anything. So what we can do is in this single select input, we can add triggers called, maybe if past 7 days set values. So what are we doing here? We're saying if the variable that you just selected, which is the filter date range, is equal to a static value of past 7 days, then let's do a data manipulation store, just like last time. We're going to change the expression. I've actually copy and pasted. I remembered to do that. And instead of 14 days times 24 hours times 60 minutes times 60 seconds, we're going to switch this to 7 days. And we'll save that. We're going to put that into the from timestamp. In this scenario, we actually don't need to change the to timestamp because it's always going to be the current date and time. So if past 7 days set values, save this. Now you're probably wondering why I didn't do an if else, right? For the other options. This is a nice trick, is that to speed up your trigger building experience, if you write your triggers with this sort of one-ended approach, you can very quickly copy them, and all you have to do is change the few details that matter. And now I can very quickly change all that logic without having to deal with a nested if-else type of situation. So finally, we'll do if past 30 days, and then we just kind of make some small edits here, and voila. Now, if we go back to dev mode, we should be able to switch, and just like that, we've made this dashboard a lot more exciting. All right, so next type of filter we'll probably want to add is some type of text dropdown to filter the categories that we're looking at. So I'm going to pick this product family column, which is a part of the data set I'm using. So very logical that someone might want to look at individual product families one at a time. So let's create a new variable, filter product family. Now, obviously, we could statically define each of these product families. I can look through the list and grab them all, but that's not going to be scalable. So what we actually want to do is get those values from a aggregation. So to use an aggregation, you first have to create a query, even if it doesn't actually filter anything. So I'm going to create a query called all, and then I'm going to create an aggregation, which allows us to access this unique values calculation. So I can get unique product families from this table, and I need to select product family. And now I have a way to get a list of the unique possibilities in this product family column. And so from your Tulip app, you can bring this in by hitting query, the name doesn't matter, and add that aggregation. We'll call this list of product families, and voila, we can now use this as our drop down. Here, let me copy this other widget to save some editing and make sure we resize that. And voila, we now have a drop down that will allow us to click on different product families. So if I click Stellar Jets, Sky Cruisers, these options are coming from our Tulip table. So it's much more scalable than if I had statically defined this in the event that new product families come to exist. Next, we want to apply those filters. So same thing I did last time, I can actually delete these. I'm going to edit the filter product family equals variable filter product family. Now I'm going to stop here and demonstrate something. Notice that I used equals, product family equals. If I go to test this app, by default, there's no product family selected, and it's looking for a product family equal to null. If I switch this filter, instead of using equals, to use contains, now by default, this null filter is not doing anything. So this is much more useful because now I can start to build drop downs where you can click through the options. And then if you ever want to get out, you just go back to the default, which shows everything. So when you're building these types of filters for charts, you want to use that contains unless there's some very specific reason not to. So I'll speed through this next part where I'm just copying this over and switching the charts. Alrighty, so now let's view our final output. We can see this nice dashboard opens up looking at the past 14 days for all product families. We can bounce this over, look at past 30 days. We can zoom in on specific product families. And we can switch back to all product families if we so desire. One thing you can't do, which is worth pointing out, right now you cannot use multi-select widgets for this type of application. Right now you cannot filter analyses by doing a product family is in function. So hopefully Tulip adds that in the future, which would allow you to select, 2 or 3 product families at a time instead of having to do either all or one. Hopefully that helps. This is just a few quick tricks to help you make better filters, or at least to help you Tulip app build faster.